Sorry. Thank you all for joining in. Take your time. Technology, still getting the hang of it. It's also doing something to my screen because I've gone live on Facebook through Zoom. So I hope the screen is not too distracting because it seems to be having a slight lag. In case of an issue or a challenge, please do call out. So I'll just give you a little brief about what Advaita Katha is. Advaita Katha is the expression of the soul in the form of storytelling. And storytelling has been an integral part of Indian culture for generations. So we at Advaita Katha, the aim of hosting Advaita Katha is to re-establish the traditional art of passing knowledge and wisdom through storytelling. So what we would be requesting our guests who will come through the series would be to share their life journey with us so that we can learn through their life journeys and, be inspired to be our best in different situations. So our today's guest on Advaita Katha is Captain Kishore. He's an alumnus from National Defense Academy. He's been a part of the Indian Air Force for 10 years, where he's flown the fighter jets like MiG-21 and Mirage 2000. He's been a part of civil aviation post that for 16 years. He's held management positions like head of operations, chief of flight safety. He's been a part of aircraft and accident investigation panel as well. Besides, this is all in addition to him being a pilot. He's flown to Afghanistan to evacuate patients. He's flown 15 different type of airplanes. Also landed and taken off from challenging airfields like Leh, Srinagar, Kullu Manali, Shimla, Kathmandu, Paro, Shillong, Lengui, Mangalore, and Abu Road. Currently, he's a head of charter company as the CEO. Before I start off my conversation with Captain Kishore, a very short brief about myself. I have, I've done my commercial pilot license from Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Academy. I was part of the 4th batch. Some of my colleagues are there on this call today. Thank you, guys. And post that, I've been in 18 years, I've been in the corporate career. I did not continue with flying for some reasons. Currently, I'm a life coach for leaders and executives and do behavioral training as well. Besides this talk show opportunity to interact with some wonderful people like Captain Kishore. So Captain Kishore, without, any more delay, in the whole introduction, while I've not mentioned about the air crash, and before we go there, I wanted to know from you, why are this list of challenging airfields? What's challenging about these airfields? Is it the height? Is it the short runways? What was it?
Some of them are short runways. Some of them are, most of them are hilly airfields. Okay. In valleys, like Srinagar is in the valley in a bowl. Leh, because of is one of the highest airfields in the world. Mm-hmm. The altitude, the elevation over there is over 10,000 feet, and Kathmandu is again in the bowl in the Himalayas. Paro is the only way to go to Paro or Kullu Manali is through a valley. Okay. So you're basically flying through a valley, and suddenly the runway comes out of nowhere. So all of these are more of seat of the pants flying, where you're aware of the terrain around you. Situational awareness has to be really high. So it's more the man flying the machine than the machine flying on its own, unlike going into any other airfield where there's a landing aid where you're doing an instrument approach into the airfield.
Yeah. Interesting. So, there are times that we take on challenges knowingly or unknowingly, and we have the opportunity to plan for them. And then there are times in life when the challenge just comes head on, and there is no choice but to just be in the moment and then possibly take different routes to addressing that challenge. Something similar occurred for you on 29th August of 2019, 27th of August 2019. And if you just share with us, if I was a fly in that aircraft, what would I kind of see? What would I experience? Could you share that with us?
Well, 27th August 2019 was no different from any other day in my life as a pilot. It was a lovely day for flying. Got to the airport on time, beautiful, no delays. It was just a short, 20-minute flight from Delhi to a small airfield called Aligarh for maintenance. The passengers on board were 4 company technicians who basically getting a joyride, carrying some equipment. Instead of going by road, they would have probably spent a couple of hours by road all the way to Aligarh, and this was their joyride, and that's all about it. We took off into a beautiful, nice, bright, sunny day, and all was well. It was a perfectly nice approach, visual into Aligarh, until suddenly I heard a loud metallic sound from the left side of the airplane, and we had about 45 degrees angle of bank, barely about, I would say 25-30 feet from the runway. 25-30 feet would be,
Captain Kishore just, I think, got dropped from the call. Just allow him a moment. No.
My apologies, I got disconnected over there.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
saying about 30, 45
yeah, so
feet
just to give a perspective, 30 feet is like 10 meters, That's barely any height. With that kind of angle of bank. All that I had time for as a pilot was follow my instinct, and all the training you get is to basically get the aircraft wings level and put the aircraft down on the runway, which we did slam bang on the center line. Okay. The first point of impact was on the center line of the runway, and we went off the runway after that, and the aircraft basically turned almost 270 degrees from the flight path, and we, barely had time enough to switch off engines, and all that we were suddenly looking at was the boundary wall of the airfield coming towards us with no control over that. And we could see that the left wing was already on fire as we moved towards the boundary wall, staring at us. It's like death approaching, and we stopped. I couldn't make out from inside the airplane. We barely stopped, probably a few inches from the boundary wall, and with the left wing already on fire. So we followed a standard exit procedure. The emergency exit was jammed. Luckily, we didn't have passengers on board, so there was nobody panicking. It was technicians on board. They also got onto the job of trying to help open the main door. The main door was kicked open by the co-pilot and the technicians on board, barely about 1.5-2 feet for people to wriggle out. I was the last one to get out, and we came out into a puddle of aviation fuel, barely ran about 50 feet away from the aircraft, and the aircraft exploded into flames from the fuel around, which was spilled.
Yeah.
So it seems like a long time, but just walking 50 feet, it's like probably walking from your car to the door of your house.
Yeah.
And suddenly you can feel the heat from the flames. It's that close. So the first feeling was, this can't be happening to me, kinds, that moment of disbelief that here I was flying the aeroplane and here I am watching it burn down. It was a kind of surreal feeling, barring that, like you mentioned earlier, it sounds a little filmy or, like a fairy tale kind of thing. But those few seconds before I got out of the airplane, while I was doing a quick exit drill, shutting off the engines, doing everything which needs to be done in the cockpit before I got out as the captain, the last one to get out. You have a quick release mechanism on the seat harness. You're supposed to turn it and then, hit it to release the seat harness. Maybe panic, maybe the impact. It didn't happen for the first time. I turned it, hit it, nothing happened. I can hear the co-pilot and the other engineers outside yelling, "Bahar niklo, bahar niklo." But in that fractions of second, I had what you would call, I won't call it paranormal, but I had my entire life whiz past me in that fraction of a second, from as far as back I could remember, from my birth to education, to school, to NDA, flying fighters, to my child, to family, everything just whizzed past me like a film roll,
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny and imaginary, but I can vouch for it. It happened,
Yes.
Maybe that's what people talk about near-death experiences. That's when I suddenly snapped out of it, turned it again harder and hit it. This time it got released, wriggled out, came out. So that was an experience to remember for a whole time. And there I was. The other funny part was we got away from the aircraft, got onto the runway, and while we were sitting and waiting outside on the runway, I think probably about 4 or 5 minutes after the crash, we had a UP policeman come on his, motorcycle, and he, like a typical policeman, he had his phone stuck into his helmet, and he was talking to someone, most probably a news reporter or something. And he comes and he taps me on the shoulder and he says, "Bhai sahab, sab mar gaye ho?" I said, "Nahi, sab bach gaya." So his face had that disbelief that how can people survive this, and he told the other person on the line, he said, "Nahi, nahi, sab bach gaye ho, sab bach gaye ho." So that's it took a while to understand that he was actually talking about us.
Yeah.
He was asking us about us. But there he was standing and, breaking the bubble for him that he thought probably he had some breaking news about people losing lives in a crash. But there we were. We survived to tell the tale.
Yeah. And in fact, this surreal moment that you speak about, I've heard a lot of people who've had seen death very up close say this, that it seemed, while it was a few seconds for other people by our watches, but for that person who was involved in the incident, it's like probably much longer, time passed very differently in that moment. So, I mean, it's an experience you have, and, I totally get it. It must have been, I mean, I can only imagine, I guess. When you were so close to the runway and the incident happened, and like you said, a practice of following certain procedures took over. Mentally, were you right there, or were there thoughts going on there as well about we're going to crash or anything like that?
No, absolutely nothing. It was just at that point of time, you're just a pilot flying the machine. Yeah. You're doing what you're trained to do day in, day out. just the quick reaction to get wings level was probably what saved us that day. If we didn't get the wings level, we would have probably touched on with one wing, cartwheeled, exploded on impact itself, plus a few other extraneous factors. That the cable we hit was carrying 33,000 volts of electricity. If that cable didn't snap, we would have probably exploded in the air itself. So it's just providence that that cable snapped, so there was no more electricity passing through, and it kind of pulled us to one side, but we managed to put the airplane down safely. Unfortunately, we didn't have one wheel, so it went off the runway, but if the wheel didn't get sheared off, we would have probably just made a safe landing out of it.
A lot of things could have gone wrong, but a lot of things went
Absolutely.
wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what happened post that? While I would like you to share a little more of what was the journey after that for you. One is dealing physically with this crash and coming out alive, a big sense of achievement. Everybody else, nobody's hurt and injured. And then post that, what happened?
Post that was the whole, saga of dealing with, media, the crowd, the district administration. And while we did all that, waiting for the DGC officials, somewhere down the line, I feel that people forget what those who experienced that accident went through. We just become, a part of the whole post-accident drama, whether it's a road accident or otherwise. We see so much of, media coverage where people are busy taking videos rather than helping the people who went through that accident.
Yeah.
It takes a while for it to dawn on people that, hey, listen, these guys went through that accident. Let's ask them if they're okay. Nobody even bothered to ask us or even offer us a glass of water. We were just, spectacle over there while we waited for the DGC officials to come. And then I think I probably got home little past midnight that day, and whereas I probably would have loved to, meet my family and hug them and just cherish the fact that I survived that crash. But there I was dealing with the whole saga of media and going to the local police station to give a statement, to dealing with the district administration, everyone trying to cover their own basis on why, what, how it happened.
Yeah.
So that was kind of reality hitting you the real hard way, that if you're ever in an accident, nobody's really going to be bothered whether you were hurt or not. Physically, you may not have blood oozing out. Nobody ever bothered to ask us, are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need to get to a doctor? Nobody ever bothered to ask us that.
And then what were the few weeks?
So you get back and, suddenly the whole saga of the post crash, investigation, and from being part of the management and the chief of flight safety of the company I flew for at that part of accident, to being removed from the post of chief of flight safety, being put off flying duties while you wait with bated breath what's next for you. It's that whole element of uncertainty which really hits you. It's like telling a soldier from being on the front line to saying, okay, you go back and sit at home. We'll let you know when you can go back to the front line and you are worthy of being put on the front line to face the enemy again. It was something similar, You don't know whether When is the next you're going to get to fly? You don't know what's the outcome of what's happening. Everyone's trying to give you advice, but we kept things absolutely simple. We did our job. We did what we were taught to do, and we're here to tell you the tale. That was my statement. That was what we stuck to all through, and we left it to the best judgment of the investigation team. So the wait for the investigation team to put in a report is what's agonizing, really. They probably don't understand, the agony which you face both mentally, emotionally, professionally, and financially. That part somehow doesn't get through to people who do investigations, which needs to be probably sensitized and drilled into the whole paradigm of doing a crash investigation. You need to, I remember speaking to Captain Amit also, they're supposed to put in a preliminary report within 30 days of the crash, which never happened in my case, for whatever reasons. I'm sure they had their reasons. I never bothered to question them and their wisdom on not doing it as mandated by the ICAO or the DGCA. But the delay definitely plays on, the pilots' mind and their lives. It really is a trauma beyond explanation. You slowly start sinking into that conundrum of did I do something wrong? When the question of self-doubt and the whole, everyone looking at you as maybe it was you who did something wrong. So all those questions which are thrown at you, even the best of best start doubting themselves. We all humans at the end of the day. If 9 out of 10 people tell you you're at fault, you are bound to start thinking, maybe I was at fault. So that really hurts not just your self-confidence, but your self-belief in what you've been doing for over 20 years plus at that point of time, and it did take a toll on me. Luckily, I had friends and family rallying around me, telling me that everything is going to be okay. But suddenly 3 months down the line, it came as a bolt of lightning. We suddenly told, hey, listen, you're going to be, your privileges to fly are going to be taken away for 12 months. So you can appeal if you want. And when I chose to appeal, that's classic Murphy's Law. When it was my time to appeal, COVID struck. The government mechanism was, all shut down. Nobody was working. So my case got brushed under the carpet because that was not the priority for anyone at that point of time. It might be priority for me, but the whole aviation industry was not flying, and there were more things to attend to. Right? People transporting vaccine and giving special clearances to flights from place A to place B. So that took priority as far as the regulator was concerned. But over a period of time, those were trying times. I think for me, the COVID lockdown was more of a boon in disguise than a curse. As for many, yes, we all went through COVID. My whole family was down with COVID, but that period of family bonding, of time spent together, was something probably we hadn't done as a family for a decade plus. Suddenly I had 2 teenagers at home. We were playing board games like everyone else, cooking, everything under the sun, which we could probably cook. I acquired a new skill, which was baking bread. So I learned how to bake bread, and we've never looked back ever since. We don't buy bread from outside. So I think I acquired a skill which I probably would use if I'm not flying. I'd probably open a nice little cafe with, good sourdough bread. So that was the positive takeaway. And the journey through that, from self-belief to slowly starting to build your life brick by brick, to both professional, personal, convincing yourself that, hey, it's okay to take therapy. It's like a taboo topic. People shy away from talking about it, not just in aviation, in any scope of life. It's still looked down upon. I have no qualms, no shame in admitting that I did try out therapy. Like I mentioned to you, for me, it was probably opening out a new door to rediscovering myself. So therapy didn't work in a different way for me, that I chose to give therapy a try and then realize that I'm my best therapist. Like I told you, you can either choose to be the villain of your life by brooding over what happened, or you can say, hey, listen, I've got a second chance at life. Let's try and rewrite our life the way I want it. Yes, a lot of people called me crazy for taking up a job which had a lot of challenges of setting up a company from scratch. Coming from where I was, there were people who offered me jobs at probably 1/10 the salary I was earning, because they thought I was down and out and I could be exploited, but believing in myself and saying that I'm worth a lot more than that. So convincing yourself that, there's that point, hey, listen, let's just take it up. Everything is a job, let me just take it up and, then build bricks from there. But I chose to take the difficult path of being part of a startup, building from scratch. Everyone in the startup world would understand the, triumphs and tribulations you go through, the challenges financially, organizational, regulator. It's definitely not easy. Captain Amit would, empathize with me. Building a company, getting certifications, going through that too during COVID time, getting in an airplane and ensuring it's flying was nothing sort of a miracle happening for us. And it was pure hard work from a small team of just 5 people. Small team of 5 people. So out of which each of them put in their heart and soul. So for me, it's a sense of great pride to say that 5 people achieved what probably, a few hundred achieve in an airline to achieve a similar certification. So so it's been a journey from self-belief, self-doubt to self-belief over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know, like, if we go back, those 30 days of not hearing anything from the investigation team, and then hearing that you can appeal, but your license is suspended for 12 months and stuff like that, the self-doubt, questioning. What was the turning point there for you? Maybe there were a couple of them. Maybe there was one that your grasp for you started moving in the direction of growing through this experience instead of letting it cut you down.
I can't really narrow it down to one particular turning point. There were small, bits and pieces. Some pointed out by a therapist, some by my own friends and family. I was lucky to have a family who were fully supportive, and that's what blood and flesh is meant to be. And I had good friends who ensured that I saw positivity in the situation. It's good to joke about that. Hey, listen, so what if you're not flying? Nobody else is flying too.
Yeah.
COVID struck everyone sitting at home. So you're not the only one sitting at home. So stop cribbing,
Yeah.
So yeah, and baking and a whole lot of reading, especially aviation related.
Yeah.
All kind of helped convince myself that, hey, listen, I can do this. I can do this. It's not about people saying you're being stupid in not taking up a flying job immediately. You already been on ground for 12 months. Just take up anything which comes towards you.
Yeah.
I had friends from, Middle Eastern carriers, Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, who were all back home, earning 6-7 figure salaries to suddenly sitting at home. And all of them were like, no, you're getting a chance to fly, just grab at it, no matter what it is. To my promoters, who are like good friends of mine, who had the belief that I was the man for the job. That was a great positivity, for someone who believed in me while I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah. Having that through crisis is
there's that sense, okay, maybe I need to prove their belief right.
Yeah.
That they have put their money in a guy who's down and out and believed that I was the, best guy for the job. That in itself is a great motivation factor.
Anything from the NDA times, any habit, practice, or anything that probably worked out and helped you during this difficult time?
Absolutely. I mean, the going goes, in NDA, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. There's the fighter spirit in you never dies down. When you're down and out, that you hit rock bottom. The only way is up. You can't really go further down. So I was at rock bottom already, and the only way was to look up and dig myself out of the rock bottom, whichever way I could. So that's what NDA drills into you, that you never give up. The human mind and the human body is capable of a lot more, no matter what anyone throws at you.
Yeah.
So that definitely always is there in the back of the mind.
Yeah. And what, as per you, would be your biggest learning from, when you look back at life today, probably from this incident and coming through it, possibly one or maybe more that you would like to kind of share with us?
Well, like I mentioned before, partly, you in your life are your own hero. Nobody else is going to be your hero. Rest are all support services, supporting actors in the movie of your life. You are the hero.
Yeah.
Rest everyone can come, give you advice, mentor you, support you. They can be supporting actors. They can add to the script. They can probably have a background score. But hero sirf aap ho. You have to script your life's movie and just work towards it. There is nobody else. When I was down and out, yes, everyone else was there. My family was there to support me. My friends were there to support me in whichever way I wanted. But end of the day, even a therapist can only show you the path.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got to walk it.
You have to walk it,
Yeah.
So nobody's going to, do it for you. So if people who go through depression, who go through career lows, personal, professional, advice is always free. It will come from all quarters. Support will come from all quarters. How you take it to pick yourself up and move forward is your baby. If you can't do it yourself, don't expect others to come and do it for you. That's not happening. You got to do it yourself.
Yeah. And were there things during, this long COVID and pre that you probably did that helped you also stay buoyant and stay, with, your head above the water? what I mean is whether for some physical activities you did you, one you said is cooking, of course. Anything else that you brought into your life, incorporated into your life that really kept you
Yes,
alive?
I got into forest gump mode. I started walking. I started walking with, first was just convincing myself to walk, which would be to put on shoes first thing in the morning, so even if it's just walking around the house, and then slowly started getting out when, moving out during COVID lockdowns was allowed, because, we were stuck at home, you wanted to get out.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's wear shoes and get out, even if it was just to get some veggies. It started with, 1,000, 2,000 steps to slowly over a period of 3-4 months to touching 25, 30,000 steps a day. And, then I started taking up these step challenges, okay, who can walk the most? And suddenly in about 6 months, I was down about 18 kilos.
Wonderful.
So it kind of was a good distraction. Every time I walked, I would listen to podcasts. I had finished audiobooks. I had finished audio Bhagavad Gita. That was another great, relating factor. When you start listening to things like Bhagavad Gita and some other blogs, audio blogs, you start relating to stuff, you start correlating to things happening in your life. Oh, okay. I didn't know that this sounds similar to my life. And this is how my life has panned out. So, so it's a good distraction. So distracting your mind always works. So idle mind is devil's workshop. So you keep it idle. The moment it's idle, I would go back to thinking about the crash or what happened. Yeah. So yeah, it helped me in more ways than one.
Yeah. And when you get punched in the face is when you appreciate safety. Post this instance, is there some intentional gratitude or appreciations of things that you already had in life, but probably didn't stop or give a moment of thought to intentionally?
Absolutely. This Captain Amit would vouch for it. There's a small little drill at the end of each simulator session before you're signed off, which you do, is the emergency evacuation drill. The last part on the item before you leave the sim, you do an evacuation drill.
Yeah.
And I had both the pilots, me and as well as the co-pilot, had come back from recurrent training in the simulator probably just a couple of months back. And it was fresh in our minds. We went about the emergency evacuation in about 30 odd seconds in clockwork precision.
Yeah.
There was no doubt in our mind. The aircraft stopped. I said, evac. The co-pilot jumped out, tried the emergency exit, ran to the main exit. All that in, about 30, 40 seconds. Ideally, an emergency evacuation, as per the book, is supposed to be 90 seconds to vacate the airplane, irrespective of the number of passengers who are there, using 50% of the exits available in the aircraft, no matter the size of the aircraft.
Okay.
And we probably got out in, 30, 35 seconds out of the airplane. That's probably what made a difference between life and death that day, that we're here to tell the tale. We did what we were trained to do in the best way possible. So in the sim, you keep cursing the sim, bloody, this is, just a bunch of bullshit, It's never going to happen, but there we were, we did what we were supposed to do in the best way possible. So, it reminds me of a very famous saying by Richard Bach, where he says, the highest art form of all is a human being in control of himself and his airplane in flight. It's like urging the spirit of the machine to match its own. So when you fly the machine, it becomes a part of yourself, not that you're flying. Even when you're driving a car, a guy who enjoys driving will probably start braking well in advance when he sees an obstacle or a speed breaker. People who do it mechanically will start braking when they see it, and at the last moment. So there's a difference. So flying is like an art form. Every day is a new love story, a new adventure. When you get your wheels up, it's like a love story, renewing itself every single day, every takeoff, every landing. I'm just probably fortunate that I'm in the profession I am. All of us, each and every single pilot, we're blessed. Trust me, we definitely blessed. Full gratitude for what I have and all that it's got to me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. I have loads of questions, but my time is up. I will open house for audience here listening. Any one of you, any questions for Captain Kishore? You're welcome to ask.
Captain Kishore, this is Andrew. Been a batchmate of Amita, so thank you, Amita. That was wonderful, and also the effort of starting. It's amazing to see the result. Sorry, I could not come on video. It's some work happening, and I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
The thing I've learned from Captain Kishore's episode was that it's the resilience of a pilot. In fact, it's a resilience of a human being. It's our training that gets us to different stages in flight, also in our personal lives. And this grooms us from the very beginning to handle a situation like this. So as he was narrating all those, I could go in my mind of having been in a situation like this, where the first thing that kicks in your subconscious mind is your training.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes you out of panic and gets you into the man-machine interface. Having done that, perhaps you just go and do whatever you have been taught. Subsequently, you realize the sequence in which you have done. And I guess that's when the pilot comes, or rather steps aside, and the human comes, where he now starts deliberating in his own head whether his actions were right or wrong, self-doubt. I guess it happens to all of us as aviator, as one of our instructors in academy. Amita would agree, Captain Ubgade, he once sat me down and he said, Andrew, the day you feel that the tips of your finger reaches out to the wings of the aeroplane, that's the only time you start enjoying your flight. So thanks for the effort, Captain Kishore. Thanks, Amita. Thanks for this venture. It was very revealing. And I guess there's so many of us who would like to open up. I'll give them an opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew's a seasoned pilot. He's flying with Air India now, probably 3 decades, I guess. So he's a senior captain. Thanks, Andrew. Anybody else? Any questions for Captain Kishore? Was it so impactful? Everybody's gone into silence. So if nobody else, then I would like to ask, so Mukul has put up a question for you. What a beautiful story to cope with it and come back from rock bottom. Unbelievable. Can you please tell the first 10 seconds when you realize something happened, your first reaction?
Well, there was not much time to think about anything. We had an airplane few feet up from ground with, the wings dipping to one side. It's just instinct that kicks in from all your training and everything, is to just get the wings level and put the airplane on the ground as safely as possible. So there was not much time to think or feel anything at that point of time. It was just like Andrew said, the man-machine interface kicks in. You do what you're taught to do.
Yeah, you're not. The idea is to not use your brains anymore. Just do what you had boringly practiced for
Absolutely.
the day. Yeah, and I guess the tunnel vision at that moment helps. Just focused on that, nothing else. So, Captain Kishore, how do you show up differently as compared to the Captain Kishore before the incident? As a person, as a human being, do you feel there's a difference in you?
Definitely. Gratitude is one thing which is kicked in massively, and counting my blessings for what I have, for the people I have in my life. Like I said, the supporting actors of my life are the ones who need a lot of credit for who I am right now. No matter what, I can be the hero of my life, but without them, they're like the pillars on whom I have built my rebirth journey, as I would like to call it. I celebrate my birthday now on 27th of August, even though tomorrow is my birthday. My current birthday stands 27th of August, where I was reborn, and I have built my life brick by brick on these pillars of support from friends, family, and the supporting actors in my life.
And do you feel you're, I don't know, possibly more compassionate, or do you view people differently? Do you have any such experience as well?
Yes, definitely. I'm a lot more patient now than before. I view things in a different perspective.
Yeah.
On how I would deal with it if I was in their place.
Yeah.
And considering from being just a pilot to being a manager and the CEO of a company, I have to view each aspect from their perspective, provide solutions, provide advice. So I have probably grown more holistically than being just a pilot, which I was earlier.
Yeah. So the group listening is very shy. None of them is coming on camera. They're not speaking. But we do have few people on chat. Tavita Gaur says, I have read in scriptures about the 40 seconds in life summary before death, which will be a deciding factor for the destination of the soul. How did you snap out of the phase? Yeah, interesting.
How did I snap out of the phase is, like I said, find myself something to distract my mind.
No, she's talking about that moment, when you said you had a flashback, that minute, those few seconds during the
I won't even say that. I would say there were probably few split seconds, because it's probably a couple of seconds maybe where that happened. What snapped me out of that was people shouting from outside, and the realization that, hey, listen, the job's still not done. You need to get out of the airplane, boss.
Yeah.
So that's what helped me get out in time.
Super. So Shreya Bhardwaj, she's asking, very often we have a tendency to focus on the negative and keep repeating negative incidents in our mind. How did you distract yourself and move into a more positive and calm headspace? I guess, Shreya, you're referring to a later stage when, yeah, please, Captain Kishore.
I wouldn't say that you can just shut off one door permanently. There are good days, there are bad days. Every single crash which happens in aviation is a trigger, for sure.
Yeah.
You lose people. It always brings back those memories. But I probably would have been just one of those statistics. So one way is to keep brooding over it. And the other way, like I said, is you take the positive from that and say, I'm never going to allow myself to be a statistic.
Yeah.
I'm going to work, more and more to ensure that I don't form a part of a statistic. So you just have to do, like Andrew said, get back to, what you're taught, and just follow that to the hilt. It's very rare that you can go wrong once you just do the basics right. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Just follow that to the hilt.
Yeah.
You will always come out triumph.
Yeah. And I guess, a lot of time we feel we don't have a choice, and we don't at times even know we have a choice, but we do. And probably like in those 10 seconds when people called you out of the burning aircraft, here, the people in your life, your loved ones, your strength, they were calling out to you, saying that we believe in you. You said that, you chose to take strength from their belief in you.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Rishal says, right before crashing, if there is one thing you could do differently, what would it be? Any word of advice for junior aviators? So Rishal has recently joined commercial airlines, and he's a pilot there. So I guess he's curious to know if there's anything you have to share with youngsters like
if there was
aviation.
If there was anything I did different, I won't be here to tell the story. Trust me. A lot of people have said a lot of stuff. Maybe you should have done this. Maybe you should have done that. Maybe you should have seen the wire. Trust me, people don't realize, that the aircraft has an angle of attack, and when you on approach, you don't really see things below your nose. So a lot of people say a lot of things. Very seasoned, very experienced people from the aviation industry have told me that maybe you should have seen that wire, from earlier on the approach. It's easier said than done to spot a gray steel wire against the background with sun in your eyes. A lot of people can say a lot of things, but we know that we did our job in the best way possible to be here to tell the tale.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, did you ever try and go back and simulate the incident on a simulator or something? Did you?
That is next on my bucket list.
Okay.
It's not on the simulator. It's to go back to the crash site, which I have not done in the last 3 years. I for various reasons, not that I'm scared of it, just that I have been really immersed in what I'm doing with the current company that I haven't taken a vacation in the last 26 months. So I haven't had the time to go there.
Super. So I wish you all the best, and thank you each one of you for being here and encouraging us on this journey. If anybody has any more questions.
Could I just come in?
Yes, please, Rajneesh.
Advaita, you would not remember me, but I am 3 batches junior to you from Ibrua. It's great to see you here. It's great, very well hosted. Amit has been a senior, so I've learned a lot from all of you guys. Kishore, it's fantastic the way you come up here and you shared everything. We've been flying for the last, practically I can say Air India has been flying for the last 90 years. And we've been a very safe airline till our merger happened. And then we realized one major root cause analysis was this, that you all have to operate in the private sector as well as, especially citations and all these jets are going to airfields where there's hardly anything, no navaids, and you have to come across all these kinds of problems where life cannot be just black and white. It has to be shades of gray. So the biggest thing that I got today was that fear is good, panic is bad. You showed a great amount of resilience when you could come out of the airplane. I haven't spoken to a single guy who's come out of a crash site and a pilot. Most of the pilots that we defend or sort of talk about in root cause analysis and flight safety are no longer there to defend themselves. So I think it's a major uptake. We should all have I think Advaita Katha is one place and a platform that is coming up in a big way. And all the airlines, all the other things which are there, even for flying schools, everybody can come up together and bring this up. I think it's a fantastic platform.
Thank you, Rajneesh.
Thanks, Rajneesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, very quickly, Mukul is saying it's unfortunate. 1 second. I'm just. It's unfortunate reality that very few people in aviation read about human psychology. Human mind is surreal. So I always related flying a machine like the movie Avatar, where you connect with a machine. Would you agree having more upbringing and intellect brought in India would be human performance and psychology as a part of training for anyone and everyone connected with any part of job in aviation?
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. You know, something which Captain Amit keeps talking about still hasn't come to light in the aviation industry a lot is fatigue management. And a part of fatigue management is how to handle stress as part of your flying. You know, nobody teaches you that. Nobody ever teaches you that.
Yeah. Thanks, Captain Kishore. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
On a lighter note, Amita.
Yes.
We in Air India fly the Taruk Maktao, the biggest Icarus which was there, which you just mentioned about Avatar. And that's the thing that I tell my students, thanks to Captain Ubgade, he used to say, be a part of the machine. So you got to connect. And whether you fly a 777 or a jumbo, it's the same thing, or a 320, or for that matter, a citation, it's all the same. Connect to your machine. Yeah, I'm so glad somebody brought it up.
Yeah, and it's like, being in flow. If anybody's read the book also, like if you're a musician or a painter or a pilot for that matter, it becomes a extension of your body. It's no more separate from you, So all the best to each one of you. Thanks, Captain Kishore, once again. Have an amazing journey ahead and a very happy birthday coming up tomorrow for you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.